Welcome to Games from Folktales, a podcast that mixes historical research with tabletop role-playing settings. I'm your host, Timothy Ferguson. This week, a Cornwall episode that will be part of the material gathered into a gazetteer once all of the chapters of Robert Hunt's popular romances of the west of England have been reviewed. Sadly, this is the weakest chapter in Hunt, and so a short episode. This chapter is, as I've hinted, mostly worthless, and is a disappointment. Hunt does mention some places that need to be fleshed out for the gazetteer. These are Sacrificing Rock at Cairn Bray, Main Rock in Constantine, the Altar Rocks in Treen and Rokenstall, and the Garrick Zans, or Holly Rock, in Eccles. A local family is cursed after the games period for using the stone there as a building material. In 1220, people use it for minor judicial magic. If something's been stolen, a large fire is lit on the rock, and each person takes a burning faggot out of the fire. They spit on their faggot, and if it sizzles or goes out, Hunt is unclear, they are innocent. Hunt says this is because guilty people have dry mouths, but I'd use something more mythic. Hunt then goes way off the rails by claiming that the midsummer fires in Cornwall are Baal fires, B-A-A-L, which are, like the Beltane fires in Ireland, a Celtic pagan survival of the worship of the sun god Baal or Belus. I'm an amateur at these things, so I wanted to check out who this Baal was. Given that the name Hunt prefers, Baal is a Semitic word for a whole heap of gods and demons from the Middle East and Northern Africa. It just means lord or owner. Belus has a Latin ending, and Bel just means bright and describes the fire. There doesn't seem to be a sun god there, and even if there was, the festival is on the wrong night. Richard Edmonds, one of Hunt's sources, says as much. The tradition is to him a Roman survival. His account is from far later than the game period, hence the tar barrels. It describes the gaining of a sort of personal magic resistance and the laying of wards around fields. This is the quote from Edmonds. It is the immemorial usage in Penzance and the neighbouring towns and villages to kindle bonfires and torches on Midsummer's Eve, and on Midsummer's Day to hold a fair on Penzance Quay, where the country folks assemble from the adjoining parishes in great numbers to make excursions on the water. St. Peter's Eve is distinguished by a similar display of bonfires and torches, although the Quay Fair on St. Peter's Day has been discontinued upwards of 40 years. On these eves, a line of tar barrels, relieved occasionally by large bonfires, is seen at the centre of each of the principal streets of Penzance. On either side of this line, young men and women pass up and down, swinging round their heads heavy torches, made of large pieces of folded canvas steeped in tar, and nailed to the ends of sticks, between 3 and 4 feet long. The flames of some of these almost equal those of the tar barrels. Rows of lighted candles also, when the air is calm, are fixed outside the windows or along the sides of the streets. On these nights, Mounts Bay has a most animating appearance, although not equal to what was annually witnessed at the beginning of the present century, when the whole coast from Land's End to the Lizard, wherever a town or village existed, was lighted up with stationary or moving fires. In the early part of the evening, children may be seen wearing wreaths of flowers, a custom in all probability originating from the ancient use of these ornaments when they danced around the fires. At the close of the fireworks in Penzance, a great number of persons of both sexes, chiefly from the neighbourhood of the quay, used always until the last few years to join hand in hand, forming a long string, and run through the streets playing thread the needle, heedless of fireworks showered upon them, and oft-times leaping over as yet glowing embers. I have on these occasions seen boys following one another, jumping through flames higher than themselves. But whilst this is now done innocently in every sense of the word, we all know that the passing of children through fire was a very common act of idolatry, and the heathen believed that all persons and all living things submitted to this ordeal would be preserved from evil throughout the ensuing year. A similar blessing was imparted to their fields by running round them with flaming torches. So that was Richard Edmonds. Hunt then notes that you can lead beasts over fire or have humans jump through fire to break curses. This includes the evil eye. The evil eye is called overlooking in one of the stories he gives, and for the curse to be broken, the fire leapt over has to be from the hearth of the person who placed the curse. There is also a mention of drawing blood from sick animals and burning it to chase away negative influences. Finally, he mentions that Cornish people feel you can ensure good luck or ward off expected misfortune by taking your best calf and forcing it alive into the fire, so that it is burned to death. He also mentions a lamb being used in the same way to break a curse on a flock of sheep. Hunt was so brief and disappointing this month that there will be an extra episode on Halloween. It's a Dunsany story, which I particularly enjoy.